This is the Realty Classroom Podcast, episode number 36.
Welcome to the show that focuses on helping real estate agents build a bulletproof business plan so that they can sell more properties in less time and live a more fulfilled life.
Are you a real estate agent with an entrepreneurial spirit who wants to turn your job into a business without sacrificing your lifestyle, but you just can't seem to find the right plan to help you get there? Well, then, hey, you're definitely in the right place. I'm Danny Griffin, the founder of the Realty Classroom and the host of this podcast. And to help you take immediate action to build a better real estate agent business, I've created a free jumpstart course for you over at freeagentgift.com. It's good for agents who are veterans or rookies. It is the foundation. What to do in order and your thinking spots, right? You have to become very aware of how to manage it. That's what that course will get you going in the right direction on, okay? Let's get started. In this episode, I want to ask a question. How many conversations? Let that sink in for a second. How many conversations did you have this week with somebody about buying or selling real estate? Now, the first point I want to make here is that so many people, when they're getting coached by me or they're asking me questions, I always get these questions over metrics or measurements. Now, look, I'm going to say this as a guy who had a long time ago a background, a very analytical background with a Wall Street analyst. And I learned a lot about income statements and measurement and how Wall Street values companies. I worked for a venture capital company where all we did was look at that sort of thing. So I get it. I'm well trained in the importance of metrics or measurements. And most measurements that we look at are lagging indicators, meaning they're looking back at history. They're saying what happened, let's analyze it. And there's not so many leading metrics or measurements that can really forecast and trend in our business. I mean, maybe not, but there's too much obsession over that discussion anyway. You know why? Where are you in your business right now with seeing it as a conversion process that is predicated on something that's at the core of it? So that's my second point here. Number one was there's too much obsession over too many metrics. Let's just talk about measuring conversations. Why? Because the second point, that is at the core of your success. I have been trained by somebody who mastered what I would call conversion. And conversion is based on conversations. Yes, I understand conversations now include email, text, but phone conversations, face-to-face, they're still very, very critical to your success. And the number of conversations that you and your agents, your team members, everybody has every week is the most important part of this, right? So you really have to focus in and be cognizant and fully aware that you are or you are not having conversations about buying or selling real estate with somebody who's thinking about buying or selling real estate. Now, again, in a conversion module context or a managed context, I look at the disposition of a contact changing. So there will be conversations with leads. You don't know anything about their timing. So the purpose of the conversation is to determine, is there real interest? Is there timing that's reasonable and clear? The next part of conversion is when they become a prospect. Okay. A prospect in my world, I've given it the nomenclature that that's somebody that's actually speaking with us and continuing to speak with us, or willing to do so at least, about buying or selling real estate. They become prospects. See, leads that don't have any interest, I'm not trying to bring Lazarus back from the dead. So I'm not pursuing them. I mean, it's a waste of time. There's a thing called opportunity cost. And I want to make sure that me, my team, the rest of us, our agents, our mastermind, that we're pursuing real rich conversations with prospects so that we can add insight along the way in those conversations so they see us as that professional, and we're eliminating competition because we're the only ones doing that. And then, of course, the conversations with clients in the context of conversion. We haven't converted anybody to a closing, or escrow as a lot of you call it these days, out in the West Coast, my West Coast friends, right? you have to go through all those three dispositions with conversations. So when you're asking yourself, how many conversations did I have? You also want to give it the context. Did I have enough conversations with people to do what? My point number 3 is, did I really have conversations that led to the act of prospecting, the creation of a contact who is going to continue discussing buying or selling with you? Because that's really the foundational piece of my personal book of business and what I teach in an obsessive way. You must, and this is why a lot of you will do well one month and not the next. And you're wondering why, because you're not being cognizant that every week there has to be those conversations that are moving people into prospect context and then moving the most interested or most motivated people right up to the bleeding edge of where they're going to become your client. And you have to be very cognizant of this. And again, it is the act of building database. There's no doubt about it. But for all of you that can't afford electronic databases, don't want to spend the money or confused by it, look, this is wire rack stuff. I mean, think about it. If you were a rookie and you were broke, you had no money, but you could sit in an open house that your company had and you could just have conversations. Pretty quickly, you're going to create prospects, people who appreciate the free information that you give them, that free guidance in the course of a buyer course, a seller course, property information, trends on what's going on, market updates, whatever. There's so much free information you can give them so that they appreciate you, so that they're willing to become your prospect. And it's very important that you're always trying to remember. The next point here is, as they start to become your prospect, you want to be able to offer them upgraded information, because the conversation is going from generally what to do into what? How to do it. You're positioning yourself as that expert as you teach them how to do it. So my point was, did you upgrade the information and book long-term follow-up? Let me give you an anecdote that we talk about at my company. We have several people that have been in other industries for a very long period of time. And we say, look, the fastest path to conversations is going where real people will be in a real context for real estate, an open house. I mean, it's the most obvious place you can go. I know a lot of you think that, well, people are online and they're not going to open houses. Really? I'm converting more people to a prospect and direct buyers off of open houses than ever before in my history, because people are running around with applications and information and they're just going directly to these houses and they're coming in, I think, more confused than ever before. So they need conversation with you. Really desperately need it, because they're so discombobulated they can't make sense of anything. And, look, everybody wants to believe that somehow the digital technology and the access to information is going to replace the real estate agent. Give me a break. This is the most confusing process most people, and I'm talking about a lot of very highly intelligent people in some other field, they get downright loco, right? They do. They do, because if you've ever been in front of people or if you've done this yourself, this can make you crazy. So a conversation that actually calms people down, yes, I can speak calmly too, calms people down, gets them focused, and allows you to be given the gift of a moment to educate them, to bring them in line with strategic approach, to help them manage their process better. That really brings them down so that they're not stressed, so they can hear you. And if you're logical, hey, Mr. Buyer, I can see that you're running around with your phone and you're looking at the app. How's it going with that? A little confusing? I mean, that's leading the witness, I know, because you know that it is confusing. I mean, skimming through all these pictures online, when the truth is, if they would just sit with a good realtor, real estate agent like you could upgrade their information. You could put them directly into MLS, where that's the source, everybody. We are the source of these listings. We, the agents, the ones that pay for MLS, right? So why are we not offering to put somebody in there, which is an upgrade directly to the source? We can get more details, but more importantly, the upgrade is us. In our insight, in our ability to be proactive. See, if the world is just out there reactively getting these things and you're hoping that somehow they dive into your boat, you're missing the opportunity to upgrade not just the information direct to MLS, but your insightful, aggressive push effort. Meaning you're going to get off your butt and you're going to go looking for things. And even further, looking and interpreting sold properties. All of those conversations are so available for you every single week. And I'm just begging you, please tell people that you can do that for them. Why? Because it's really beginning to help you book the opportunity for longer term follow-up. Look, I know a lot of agents and coach multiple agents that come to me where they're really good at skimming cream. I was coaching one of my guys, Chris, the other day, and we were talking about this. I mean, this guy, he's probably one of the best buyer agents in North Carolina. Okay. I mean, he's that good. He's engaging. He's funny. People like him. And so I said to him, I said, okay, so give me an update on the total number of deals, volume. And he was volunteering it actually. And I said, okay, now I want you to take a look at this. And I want you to ask yourself, or just tell me, how long were you with each one of those people from the inception of the conversation to the closing? 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 1 month, 2 months. He goes down and, 9 months. But that's because, she bought a new construction and I had to wait. And I sort of sat there with my Cheshire cat coaching smile on the other end of the phone, thinking to myself, see, think about this. Here's this guy doing really well and he wants to do better. But he's smashing it, skimming the cream. So in other words, the easiest conversations are the easiest ones to convert, the now business, right? And they are out there. And in the Carolinas, where the market's been white hot, they're very easy to come by if you just get in the game because there's so many people flooding in from the north, coming up from the south. It's got really good geographic dynamics. But what if that cools off, I said? Right? What if you can't convert that cream? You've got to invest in prospecting for the long term. You can't just prospect conversations for the short term. So the point was, I said to him jokingly, I said, you're like a guy that goes to try to get a loan and has no credit. It's not even like I can critique your long-term prospecting process. You don't have any. It doesn't exist. I said, but that's exciting, isn't it, Chris? Because if you'll just take the time to do the very basic, become basically cognizant of prospecting for anything longer than 9 months. Really, it should be 12 months, right? I want everybody to think that, sure, there's a lot of cream that you can get in the first 90 days, then 6 to 12 months, but then 12 to 36 months, I built my entire system to make sure that Laura and I didn't miss anybody there. We didn't want to be the problem. And on Cape Cod, one of my markets, Boston's like a different animal, but in Cape Cod, if you don't learn how to continue that conversation over 24 to 36 months, you're not going to be any kind of a top producer here. I'll tell you that much, because you just don't have to be on Cape Cod. So it's a slower, longer term decision. So I warn everybody that's been in a hot market. And by the way, as I'm recording this, markets are shifting again. I'm seeing them cool all across America and a little bit in Canada. I'm seeing the same thing. It's becoming more difficult. So you have to invest in conversations that are going longer and longer. Okay. So let me reemphasize these bullet points. Get up. And whatever time you meet with a mastermind member, your team, or you're just looking in the mirror and say, how many conversations did I have this week with people about buying or selling? How many of those were leads that became prospects? How many of those prospects was I able to tip over into clients? That's the first part, right? And remember, the background to this is don't obsess over all these other esoteric metrics until you're ready. When you have a managed business and it is set up like a Henry Ford assembly line, there'll be plenty of metrics to measure because you can measure these moments in time. But start off with the fundamental. How many conversations did I have that led to prospects, and how many prospects are in my wire racks or my database? Key. Why? Point number 2, it's the core to success. If you want a predictable, sustainable real estate agent business, you must be aware of this every week, and that your atrophy and your closings is coming from a lack of constantly building new conversations and bubbling them up, right? The third point there is it is really the conversation that leads to prospects. They can go directly to a prospect at an open house. You don't even have to have some long-term lead period. If you're just talking to people directly, whether they're FSBOs, expireds, and you're knocking on their door, you're doing an open house, somebody gets referred right in the moment, you can directly prospect people too. But the next point is you want to offer an upgrade of information to those people. Hey, you're probably looking on your app. Hey, you're running around to open houses. I might be able to make this better by putting you directly into the source and adding my insight to it. And that sets you up for long-term follow-up where you want to make sure, whatever system you're using, that you are not the problem. Once you start this conversation for a long period of time, you must be consistent. If the information's coming automatically from MLS, that's only part of it. You must be adding your insight at a frequency and a cadence that is in line with their timing. All right? So let's summarize that key point. Conversations are the act of prospecting for the purpose of bringing consistency into your business. All right. Remember, you can take immediate action and get started in the right direction with our free video course over at freeagentgift.com. If you like what you learned here, then we'd appreciate it if you would share these insights with other entrepreneurial real estate agents just like you so that they can find their way over here to join us. I'd appreciate that. And of course, don't forget to subscribe or follow us on whichever platform you're listening, and a positive review is always appreciated. We also broadcast our live sales training. We give it away on Facebook every Friday. You can eavesdrop on me training these folks live and in the moment. We have some really interesting evolution, just subtleties that make a huge difference. So get over there on Facebook, right? And remember, when you're there, just like the page and you won't miss the notifications. Hey, thanks for listening. We look forward to helping you in the next episode.
You've been listening to The Realty Classroom with Danny Griffin. Join us next time to continue learning how to build a smarter real estate agent business plan that helps you live a more fulfilled life.